ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Adam and Eve. Now, for the heathens in the crowd today, Adam and Eve is a story from the Bible, and it's about the first human beings who were created by God, and they lived naked in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was gorgeous. It was this luscious place, and these two had to fulfill just one condition to live there. Don't eat a fruit from the forbidden tree. It sounds really easy, right? The tree literally has the word forbidden in its name. Apparently it wasn't, because one day, Adam and Eve decide to eat an apple from the tree, and the moment they take a bite, they realize they're naked, and they feel really embarrassed, so they run around the garden trying to find leaves to cover themselves up. Am I skipping some parts of that story? Definitely. But I summarized the parts that to me demonstrate the fundamental way most of us see clothing. It exists for a single purpose, and that's to cover our bodies. Our society looks at clothes, hair, shoes, makeup, accessories, collectively, what I will call fashion, in a very practical and utilitarian way. Folks, today, I want to show you why that's wrong. I want to talk about the power of fashion and the ability it has to transform our lives. But before we jump into all of that juicy stuff, who is this person that's going to stand here for the next 20 minutes and tell you all that you dress really badly? Well, in case you've already forgotten, my name is Maria. I'm a student, a researcher, an author, a bunch of other cool stuff. I think for a 20-year-old, I have a pretty good resume. I'm happy with where I'm at. But trust me when I say that that resume just used to be a blank page. I want to take you back in time to about 3 years ago, and I ask you to imagine this scared 17-year-old high school student who's about to embark on a journey at Canada's #1 post-secondary educational institution. She was also about to live on residence, so she was kissing goodbye to her mom's home-cooked meals and her dad killing any insects in the house. She was basically looking down a really dark tunnel, and all she could see was hours spent at the library, microwaved bowls of old pasta, and cowering in fear because the spiders had colonized her bedroom. I was that 17-year-old, and you thought I looked bad now, right? Surprise. But in the middle of all of this change, I had to simplify at least one aspect of my life, so I picked my wardrobe. I came up with a personal uniform of sweatshirts and skinny jeans. I could eat in them, sleep in them, and study in them, which are the only things that really matter to a student, right? At this point in my life, all I was thinking about was productivity. I had come into university with all these dreams and goals that I was trying to achieve, so all my energy went towards that. This focus on productivity is such a strong message in our culture, and fashion is just one of the ways that it's reinforced. Some of our most idolized and iconic figures are famous for the fact that they have uniforms. Take Mark Zuckerberg, for example. He wears the exact same gray t-shirt every day. Now, when he was asked about that in an interview, he said, and I quote, "I feel like I'm not doing my job if I spend any of my energy on things that are silly or frivolous about my life. So that way, I can dedicate all of my energy towards just building the best products and services." All right, so his wardrobe suffered so that you and I could have a platform to share cat videos on. And he's not the only one, right? Steve Jobs also comes to mind. Black turtleneck, dad jeans, white sneakers. I mean, these people are iconic. They're so respected in our society, and this was their opinion on the clothes we put on our backs. Naturally, I felt the same way. I had a budding interest in fashion, but I thought, at the very least, I had to wait till I've achieved something really significant with my life before spending time on things like that. You know, maybe once I'd created the next big tech company, Pineapple or Spacebook, then I could start devoting time to my outfits. unfortunately, I was nowhere near starting the next pineapple. I was in my first year at university. And when you're at university, you realize that you're a guppy in a shark tank. Everyone sitting in these lecture halls has actually already started their own tech company, or invented a water purifier that cost 5 cents, or interned at NASA when they were 3 years old. I hadn't done anything remotely close to that impressive. I mean, I'd been on my high school's lacrosse team for a week, but one day, the ball came flying towards my face, nearly broke my nose, so I dropped out. I like my nose. Suddenly, I'm sitting there and I'm questioning everything, myself, my abilities, my goals, my ambitions. I'm really wondering, will I ever achieve those big dreams I had? I'm sure most of the students in this room today completely understand where I'm coming from. The modern undergraduate is expected to have everything: grades, work experience, volunteering, extracurriculars, clubs, and a fantastic social life. I am not the only one who is wearing myself out trying to have it all. We're expected to be extremely productive, and yet, we're also expected to be extremely happy. And you know what, folks? That makes complete sense. This day and age is, statistically speaking, the best time ever to be alive. We have longer lifespans, way lower mortality rates, easier access to food, shelter, education. We should all be so incredibly grateful for the gift of being alive in the 21st century. But there's a catch, right? All those perks of the modern age are pretty much offset by that constant pressure to be productive. What good is a longer lifespan when you're spending most of that time working? We tend to forget that being happy requires work too. Now, I was so stressed trying to be this productive student that I decided enough is enough. I need to shift some of this work towards being happy. And how did I do that? Well, I looked at that budding interest that I had in fashion, and I decided to nurture it. I went into my closet and I dug out all those clothes that I was saving for special occasions, and I just started wearing them to lectures or to work. I stopped spending all my money on skinny jeans and hoodies, and I said, Maria, try something interesting, something different. It got to the point where I was having so much fun dressing up that many Monday mornings, when the last thing I wanted to do was crawl out of bed for 8 a.m. calculus, I forced myself to. I had a duty to show the good people of Toronto the fantastic outfit I had planned for the day. Now, every night, I'd stand in front of my wardrobe, deciding what to wear, and I'd ask myself, would I be happy if a future employer or a future boyfriend saw me in this outfit? And not at the same time, folks, one or the other. I'm not that kind of person. You don't have to worry. But that idea, that sentiment, it's based in something we all intimately know. We all know that the way you dress influences how other people perceive you. It's the reason why your mom's ironing that white shirt before your first proper job interview, or why you're up at midnight texting your friends 15 different outfit options before your first date with that smoking hottie from the library. We're trying to project confidence, skill, wit, intelligence, all these wonderful and amazing aspects of our personality. All I did was adopt that into my daily life. Why should I just project these amazing things at job interviews and first dates? Why not project it every single day? What do I have to lose? But there's something we rarely ever focus on, and that's how the clothes influence how we see ourselves. I noticed something that was happening around the same time as this newfound passion for fashion. I was walking with a bit more bounce in my step. I was more confident going outside of my comfort zone. I felt like the imposter syndrome that had gripped me since my very first day at university was decreasing, little by little. The thing I attributed this change to was my newfound interest in fashion. I noticed that taking a few minutes to craft a good outfit made me feel prepared to take on the day and any problems it would have. I felt like my clothes were helping me be my best self. Now, the last thing I want to do is assume that a correlation equals causation. And folks, right now, I'm just a girl standing in front of a crowd, asking it to believe me based on a personal anecdote. So I went out to try and find a study that would support everything that I was thinking. And guess what? I did find a study. Now, this paper was published in 2012 by Dr. Adam and Dr. Galinsky in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology. One day, these professors see a white lab coat, and they think, white lab coats are typically worn by doctors and scientists, and generally people who are very careful and pay a lot of attention to detail. So they conducted a study, and they confirmed that, yes, the majority of the population associates white lab coats with traits like carefulness and attention. This finding led them to wonder, would wearing a lab coat make a person take on those traits for themselves? So, would it lead to increased attentional abilities? To test this idea, they got a bunch of undergraduate students and they divided them up into 3 groups. Group 1 was given a white lab coat to wear, and they were told that it's a painter's coat. Group 2 was given the exact same white lab coat to wear, but they're told it's a doctor's coat. And Group 3, they're also given the exact same white lab coat. They're also told it's a doctor's coat, but they weren't allowed to put it on. It simply lay on a table next to them. Next, all 3 groups were given 2 images that were identical except for some tiny differences. Now, when they were asked to write down those differences, Group 2, wearing the lab coat they believed was a doctor's, found the most, reflecting better attention. They also found that when people are wearing a doctor's lab coat, they make half the number of mistakes in an attention task compared to people not wearing a lab coat at all. So the crucial finding of the study is that the effect of a lab coat depends on 2 factors. First, it depends on what the coat symbolizes. Group 1, who is wearing a painter's coat, didn't show any changes, presumably because we don't associate painting with traits like carefulness and attention. And second, you have to physically wear the lab coat to see any improvement. Group 3, that saw a doctor's lab coat but didn't actually put it on, showed no change. The name for this effect is the theory of enclothed cognition, which describes the effects that clothes have on the wearer's psychological processes. They had found that when people wear a lab coat associated with the traits of carefulness and attention to detail, they showed increased attentional abilities themselves. What a thought-provoking study, right? Pretty interesting. But the question is, how relevant is that to you and me? The last time a student walked around every day in a lab coat, he was pretending to be a doctor and he ended up in jail. You should Google it. It was a really weird story. But what this study got me thinking was, we all have our own personal lab coats. We all have things that when we put them on, we feel invincible. Now, maybe it's a color that makes you feel like you stand out from the crowd. Perhaps it's a style of clothing that makes you feel really professional and put together. You could even be inspired by how your idols dress. Whatever it is, we all have our own personal lab coats that we associate with important traits. And they have the potential to help us feel like our best selves. Now, when I looked at my experience from this perspective, I could immediately understand why I was feeling the way I was, and I could see my personal lab coats. So I'd like to share them with you today. Lab coat number 1, crazy trousers. I'm talking cuts, colors, flares, prints, anything and everything. I'm wearing them today. I love them. Now, this might surprise some of you, but I am a serious introvert. I'm the definition of an introvert. And trust me when I say that's not really very helpful when you're a measly student trying to get their grubby little hands on any job opportunity that they can get. Crazy trousers are the opposite of introverted. They're loud, they're flashy, they're confident. I had to be bold when I wore them. And that boldness helped me seize a lot of opportunities that otherwise might have just passed me by. Lab coat number 2 are my round glasses. For some reason, round glasses are really common in academia. I feel like we've all had that professor that came in the first day of the semester, round glasses, turtleneck, suit, papers under their arm, and you just knew, wow, this person is really smart. Well, that happened to me because eventually I began to associate these glasses with everything I wanted to be one day. This wise, intellectual scholar who's the go-to in their field. Think Dumbledore. Now, I stumbled across these one day, I decided to try them on, and the moment I did, folks, I felt smart. I felt intellectual. I was channeling all these traits that I admired greatly. My final personal lab coat, thick eyebrows. Now, thick eyebrows have become really trendy recently, but to me, they're a symbol of my heritage. Women from my racial background always had lots of hair and bushy eyebrows, but even before it was cool. So I like to wear my brows bold and unruly, wild and untamed, because those are all traits I think a woman of color needs to thrive in our society. And there you have it. Those are my personal lab coats. Now, to some of you, the crazy trousers are just that, crazy. And to others, the round glasses were less Dumbledore and more Harry Potter. But guess what? None of that matters. What's important is that these items have significance to me. They embody traits that I value, and when I put them on, I feel myself taking on those traits. Now, it might have started out as superficial, but that change became deep and meaningful. No longer am I that timid 17-year-old who was afraid of trying hard and failing. I became confident and fearless, well on my way to achieving those big dreams. A journey to find happiness, ironically, ended up fueling my productivity and driving me towards success. That was really motivational, right? Really inspirational. I bet each and every one of you wants to run out now and find your own personal lab coats. And if you don't, may I ask, what's wrong with you? I've just stood here and told you how amazing they are. But finding a personal lab coat isn't always going to be easy. You might need to do some trial and error. The thing about trial and error is that might require money. And that's not something a lot of undergraduate students really have. So the conclusion to my talk today is that if you don't have money, I'm afraid you can't have a personal lab coat. I'm kidding. You obviously got that. Of course it's still possible. And to prove it, I set myself a challenge. I did a bit more research, and I found out that the average Canadian spends, I've given away my challenge. The average Canadian spends $3,374 a year on clothing, which translates to $9 a day. Now, my challenge was to create a complete head-to-toe outfit based on 1 week's worth of that budget. So, to do the math, that's 63 Canadian dollars. Now, this is the outfit that I came up with on that budget. It's a simple dress, but with this wild jacket and flame-printed boots. It's pretty amazing, right? But I'm sure most of you are thinking what I thought. $63 for one outfit? Folks, that's the cost of 12 Big Macs. So, I went ahead and made 12 more outfits with the 3 things I bought, but using clothes I already owned. Now, the first 6, these are the simple ones. They're made with things we already own, like white t-shirts, black jeans, denim. The second set, these are the flamboyant ones. You can see the crazy trousers, round glasses, a bunch of other funky stuff. And these 12, they're just the tip of the iceberg. There are tons more outfits I could have put up there today, even just by mixing and matching what's on the screen. The point is, you don't have to go broke to have a personal lab coat. You don't even have to buy anything. The value in a personal lab coat is the meaning behind the clothing. It's not what you wear, but why you wear it. Each and every one of us can dress with purpose, dress with meaning, dress with intention. Folks, I'm standing here, I'm looking out, and I see a really amazing group of people. I see the next inventor of Facebook. I see the next author of the Harry Potter series. I even see the person that's going to invent a burger that tastes better than the Big Mac. But now that I'm standing here thinking about that, I don't think it's going to be too hard to do. What I see is an incredible group of people, and you will achieve incredible things. But standing in your way is your own doubt. You will often feel like you cannot do it. You will need every single tool you can get to help you achieve your goals. Why is fashion not one of them? There's a really common idea that dressing well is just for special occasions, but to that, all I can say is that life is an occasion and every day can be meaningful if you just dress like it. I want to thank you for listening to me today, and if I bored your pants off, please feel free to try on some new ones, preferably flared and bright yellow. Thank you very much.